welcome. My name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to our final card for Balloon Festoon. It's a Friday, so it's a funky fold, and it is this gatefold with 3 flap card. So basically what happens is you open it up like so and you have all your sentiments inside, but you've got your focal image on the outside. And for us it is the big balloon. Okay, so let's bring in my supplies. So what have I got? I have got a piece of Lost Lagoon. Now this measures 8.5 by 5.5, and we'll score that in a moment. I then have a contrasting piece that measures 4 by 5.25, and then we've got white stock, which is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so the next thing I've got is I have 2 pieces of contrasting colour, so matching the inside layer. These both measure 1 5/8 by 4 inches. So they will go across the card like so. And then we have the middle one, which is slightly bigger. So it is 2 inches by 4 inches, and that's the bit that goes in the middle there. Okay. Then we have designer series paper. Now this designer series paper is called Everyday Essentials. And so I've got 3 pieces, 2 to top and bottom. They measure 1.5 by 3 7/8. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could leave a slightly bigger gap around your cardstock. And then I've got this one, which is 1 7/8 by 3 7/8, and that fits onto there. I then have a piece of designer series paper, again, still with the Everyday Essentials. And this is going to be my balloon, or cutting out for my balloon. So the balloon is that shape, okay. And this is measures 3.5 by 4.5. And what I've done is, so these are the balloons all here. So I've gone 1 2 3 4. I've chosen the 5th balloon, okay, from the center, and that gives me enough to go through my card. Right. Oh, I've also got myself a Lost Lagoon, dark Lost Lagoon blend pen, and I'm using the Dewdrop embellishments, but I'm going for the white ones. There is very little, oh, she says very little, and a strip for a sentiment, which is happy birthday. And this is 1 inch, and I'm just going to cut it down once I've got it on the balloon. Right. Very little stamping. So let's do that straight away. And I'm just going to stamp happy birthday onto there. Again, we're just using we are using Misty Moonlight. I like this colour. It's a colour I very rarely use though, but I do like it. So let's pop that down there. There we are. We have a happy birthday. We'll cut that down in a moment. And then I'm bringing in my gems. And what I want to do is I want to colour them in my dark Lost Lagoon with my blend pen. Now, if you haven't seen this before, literally what you do is you take a clear gem and a blend pen and you just go round them and you colour them in. Okay. I've gone for dark so that it stands out. Now, what I like to do is, the first time I used them, I did this and then put my hand on it and it sort of took the colour off. So by letting it stand for a couple of moments, and I literally mean a couple of moments, the colour stays permanent onto your gems. So I've coloured those in. There we go. And now I have got my Lost Lagoon colours there. So let's bring that up so you can see. So you can see that these ones here are the clear ones. Maybe if I show the camera, it'd be fine. These ones here are the clear ones, and these ones are ones I've just coloured in. Okay, right. Let's start with the body of the card and my trim and score. This is my trimmer, but it has a scoring blade on it. What I'm going to do is I am going to score at 2 1/8 on both ends. Just so much easier to do it this way. So it's 2 1/8 and score. and then I'm going to turn it round and score 2 1/8. Okay, and score. While I've got this out, I'm going to trim down my happy birthday, and I'm just going to make sure, there we go, it goes there, so it goes straight across, and then I'm just making sure that the edge isn't too, there we go. It doesn't need to be huge, it just needs to fit into the middle of the balloon, so it will be like so. Now there's space here on top and bottom should I want to. I'm going to wait until I get a bit closer to decide whether I need to cut it down any further. Right, so let's start with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my right hand side over, and I'm going to bring my bone folder and I'm going to score. I'm then going to bring the left hand side over. I'm just going to make sure it lines up, which it does, and then I will score. Okay, and I'm just going to push the edges down. I think I might need to change my blade. If you find that you're getting a little ragged edge, you will find that this is probably because you need to change your blade. But there we are, that will do, that will work. Right, so we folded that. So in the middle, we are going to put our Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to use my multi-purpose. Yeah, this will give me enough wiggle room. So I'm happy with that. That's excellent. Oops, she said. Perfect. Then I'm going to do the same with the white one. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp on this a balloon or some of the other stamps that come in the set, but I am going to leave mine plain. All right, so that now closes over. So the next thing to do is to layer your designer series paper on top of your contrasting cardstock. Now I'm going to use my glue. You could use Stampin' Seal should you wish to. I'm just going to take that down. I'm just going to line that up, and you will see that it is a very, very tiny border all the way around for this. That's one. Now, if you're using one that has a pattern that isn't continuous, so it's a random pattern, or you can just cut it as normal. If, however, you have got a pattern that matches up, you need to be aware that when you cut your designer series paper, you cut 1 1/2 by 3 7/8. Then you cut your 1 7/8 by 3 7/8, and then you cut your 1 1/2 by 3 7/8, and that way the pattern will follow through. But if, like mine, you've just, you know it's going to match up, I just cut 2 at 1 1/2 and 3 7/8, and then 1 at 1 7/8 and by 3 7/8. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so there they are. They've all cut down and in place. So you can see the lines match up. Right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to take your balloon, you're going to run it through your cut and emboss machine, and it comes back looking like this. And it will go on your card there. Now, you will need a ruler and a pencil for this next bit. So I'm going to work out where I'd like it. So I'm thinking that is where it's going to stand. I'm then going to take away the top and the bottom, and I want to draw a line where the top of the paper is. So you can't see the paper here. And I'm just going to draw a line on the balloon, like so. Then I'm going to do exactly the same. Turn it around to make life easier. Hold it in place. Make sure that the line you've drawn lines up with your contrast paper. And then you're going to do exactly the same with this one. And you're going to draw a line through across. Not too hard. Okay, so you can see it matches up. This line matches up with the edging here. Just trying to make sure I don't put it out of focus. Yeah, and then this line matches up here. Now what we're going to do is going to bring our cutter in, and we're going to cut down that line. So we're going to make sure that this line that we've drawn, this pencil line, runs through the track here. Once you're happy that it's done that, you can then, get that out of the way, straight down cut with your trimmer, turn it around and do exactly the same thing. Just make sure that your line is straight down the track. Okay, and then straight through. There we go, and you've now cut it into 3. Perfect. Let's just quickly see if that works on there. I'm actually going to make it slightly thinner, but as I said, it's a 1-inch strip with the happy birthday, so I'm just going to cut it down. It's a very annoying fly. All of a sudden it's just decided to join in with the video, and it's almost 7/8 of an inch the strip. There we go. All right, so it's 7/8 of an inch by 2 5/8, but you can just cut it down like you do with your, to fit your sentiment. Right, so the next thing to do now is to take your middle, line it up with the edges of your, make sure I'm doing it the right way. Yes, I am. So you don't want to make sure, you want to make sure that your balloon is going to be the right way. Now, if you find you've drawn too rough on your piece of designer series paper, just run a, there we go, a rubber down the end of there and down the end of there. Okay, sometimes it cuts it perfectly and you don't need to. I'm just going to make sure I don't need to do the right. Okay, so the thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my dimensionals and I am going to pop these onto here. I'm probably going to use, on the big one, 5, just because it's designer series paper and it will be a little bit floppy. It's obviously not going to be as strong as cardstock. Hear the brain ticking then. Okay, so I'm going to line this up like this and pop it into place. Now, before I add the other two, what I want to do now is add my tops. Okay, so that goes there, like so. This one goes down here like that, and then this one will fit in the middle. And you just need to make sure that they line up. Now, top and bottom will be attached by the right hand side and the middle will be attached by the left hand side. So I'm going to take the middle out. I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to put glue along here. Let's use this. Okay, and I'm just going to run my glue down here like so. And then I'm just going to make sure that it is equal on both sides and that there is no glue on the other side so it doesn't stick it down. All right, so that is in the right place and I'm happy with that. I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. I'm going to make sure that it is glued down in the right place. Just make sure the lines match up. Yeah, they do. Turn that one around that way. Try that again, shall we? That's better. Okay. Now I'm concerned, so I'm going to do it this way, that my lines didn't match up. That one is the correct, because I've stuck that one down, it has to be that one. So you just want to make sure that your lines match up. So that line matches up there and this line matches up this way. There we go. This is what I was saying to you earlier on about making sure your pattern flows. So because I hadn't stuck anything down, I was able to correct my hiccup. So this time round, my card is opening on the left-hand side. This flap comes up. So making sure that is in the right place, which it is now. I'm going to turn this over this way, and I'm going to attach glue to this side. I don't want it to go over the other side, so I'm going to be careful where I make it and make sure it doesn't. So tick it back, make sure it matches up with your line. You can see all the lines go all the way through down. Perfect. So now we've got two that opens this way and one that opens that way, which is fine. It does not matter as long as you don't stick it all down and make the mistake. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this one over, do exactly the same as we did on the other side. So there is the cut. We want the glue just on that section. Here we are. And you can flip it back. And it can go there. Wiggle it around to make sure it is in the right place. So this card now opens this way, whereas the original, which is this one, opens the other way. So as you can see, it really doesn't matter as long as you catch it like I did, and you can correct it. Right, so the thing to do now is to add your other parts of your balloon. So for my top balloon, I'm going to add a few bits, probably only 3 of the dimensionals on here, like so. Take those off. Now the original centerpiece is lined up with the outer edge of the panel. This one, I'm going to line up this edge with the edge of the designer series paper, so there is a gap. That's just going to go there and there. And just make sure that it follows round your balloon. I'm going to do exactly the same to the bottom piece. I've actually got some tiny pieces here, so I can just use those. That piece. And then I'll just bring in my scissors and just cut that bit off. There we go. And then that can go in there. And then again, what I'm going to do is make sure that the flat edge, she's sticking it to a finger, this edge lines up with the designer series paper, but follows through with the balloon. Okay, so you know the line follows round. So there is your balloon now stuck down. You now can stick your happy birthday on top like so. So again, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal, but you could use, no, multi-purpose, but you could use your Stampin' Seal should you wish to. So for me, the only thing to do now is to add the bling that we coloured in earlier. So I'm going to bring in my pointy tool, and on the top I'm going to do one there, one there, and then the small one down the bottom here. And then I'm going to do the reverse for the other side. I'm going to take the big one, sorry, the little one, and it's going to go one there, there. Take the big one, go down, and then I'll take the other one and it can go down there. So as you can see, you've got the angles. Now, if that is not dark enough for you, you can go over again. So let's go over it again. Whoops. Trying not to colour in the actual balloon as well. There we go. Just to add a bit more colour. And that is our quick funky fold for this Friday. So I hope you, as you can see on this one, I actually used the blue ones. I suppose you could have used the blue ones on that one. Let's see if it makes much of a difference. Let's take this one up, gently take it up, pop it down because you can use it again. Take the dark. I wonder if I prefer it. Let's have a look. That one can go there. Let's take this one up, pop that one down. Oh, it might work better, mightn't it? What do you think? Yeah, maybe on this occasion the stronger colour was needed. There we go, that one. And then we're going to use exactly the same again. Yeah, it does make it pop a little bit better, doesn't it? But I'm not going to waste these. I will use these at a later date. So there's no worry that these are going to get wasted, because they haven't stuck down quite well, but I was able to lift them. That one goes there. Perfect. And then bring this one up, pop it back on, and take the dark one and add it down the bottom. Yeah, I think preferably, oh, let's get rid of those. Preferably, I think the darker ones work better. What do you think? Do you think the Lost Lagoon was better, or do you think that, now you've seen it, the dark blue, which I think is actually Secret Sea. There we go. So thank you ever so much for joining me this week for our Balloon Festoon Stamp Set of the week. We will be back next week with a scrapbooking kit. So do join me then, but have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye.